The weather outside is frightful.
It's
The
so
snow is
delightful.
so delightful. So
So
if there's no place to go, let it snow,
let it snow, let it snow.
Went to kindergarten 1940.
Yes, I was in the graduate.
So that means that you were born about 1935.
That's right.
Right?
That's
and
correct.
so if my math is mathing, that puts you at about 90 years old.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're right. You're a good man.
That's why I say it's living history.
This
isn't just a story. You're not repeating something because you did your doctoral thesis on this. This is just your life. This is real living history that cannot be erased or minimized or set aside. And so that was one of the reasons I just really wanted to talk with you, because when you say these names of Angela Davis, A.G. Gaston, I mean, his house was bombed in 1963 in Birmingham, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. When Mrs. Parks said she would not get up out of her seat.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me stop there for a second. I want to talk about the Montgomery bus boycott.
Okay.
You told me you had a conversation with her during that time.
Yes.
And she said she didn't say something.
Absolutely.
Tell me what you tell me she didn't say.
I really didn't know I was short until I came up here, because my dad, he said, baby, that a man is measured from his neck up.
Hold on. I got you just dropped it. A man is measured from his neck up. All right, you all, it's pop quiz time. I'm going to give you a list of names and events that I want to see if you have any idea what these events have in common. Fire hoses, 16th Street Baptist Church, Bull Connor, March on Washington, letter from a Birmingham jail, I have a dream. Figured it out? The answer is 1963 and Birmingham, Alabama. All of those things were part of the civil rights movement. But today, many of those names, those events, those experiences are unknown to a lot of people. They have no idea what I'm talking about when I say those names. They have little importance to people. They may just be historical facts that really mean nothing, something in a book, something that you have to memorize for a test or to get through a class. There's a lot of those things have been dismissed as divisive concepts, as negative stories that need to be suppressed or whitewashed or removed from history altogether. But what I know is that to erase those things, to erase those experiences, to rewrite history is to also to rewrite those people who lived that history, is to write them out of history. It's to act like they didn't exist and that they're not important. So today, I want to transform those stories from grainy black and white film into 1080K living history. So welcome to Real Life Matters, where we talk about with real life people, about real life situations, real life problems, and trying to come up with some real life solutions. And I am your host, Jason Perry. And so I am so glad today that you're joining me today because you are going to experience one of the most unique, fascinating, informative conversations that I know that I've ever had, and I think that you will ever experience yourself. My guest today is my new good dear friend, Mrs. Ruth Washington.
Cute.
Isn't she cute? Look at her. She's so cute. So my friend Ruth Washington. So let me give you a little bit of a backstory. On Sunday at church, during my sermon, I read a quote from Dr. King's A Letter from a Birmingham Jail. After church, I asked if anybody knew where this quote came from. After church, I was talking with Miss Ruth, if I can call her that, and I shared with her, and she shared with me that she possessed the original edition of the newspaper where the letter from a Birmingham jail was published. And that blew me away. It told me about a conversation she had with Rosa Parks, and I was like, stop talking, because I got to get you on camera. I got to get you on film talking about this because this is living history. And so I invited her to be a guest on Real Life Matters to talk about her experiences. So welcome, Miss Ruth.
Thank you.
All right.
So happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're
Yes,
here.
indeed.
I'm excited about you being here, and I'm excited about our conversation for the next 6 hours.
Oh, sounds good to me. I think I can handle it.
I bet you can. I bet you can. I think you could talk me under the table. So do this. Why don't we just start with just why were you born in, are you from Alabama? Were
Yes,
you born
I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. And I grew up in a family of 9 children.
Okay.
My mother and father, hard-working black people, hard-working.
Yeah.
My father worked at American Cast Iron Pipe Company in Pacifico.
Okay.
He worked with, you remember Colin Powers?
Yes.
He worked with Colin Powers' father-in-law.
Wow.
And they worked at American Cast Iron Pipe Company in what was called downstairs black office.
Okay.
They were kind of a certain little charisma of men. And Colin Powers' father-in-law was one of the employees. He went on to be the principal at Parker High School.
Okay.
And he was my principal at Lincoln Elementary School in Birmingham, Alabama. And by the way, I graduated with the class of 1940 in kindergarten. So I kind of went through the...
So you graduated kindergarten 1940.
Yes, I was from Presbyterian Church on 11th Avenue in Birmingham, Alabama. It was called Smithfield, and
Okay.
that was you had really a big group of educators and working hard people. And right down from the church, Professor Johnson, my primary school principal, lived.
Okay.
And my father and Professor Johnson worked together for years at American Cast Iron Pipe Company. It was a tragedy at the end because my father was getting ready to retire. Mm-hmm. And he was asked what had happened to certain material because he was like the errand boy and he was like the one who took packages to the post office. And they asked him what had happened to certain things. He said when he went to this office, there was a group of men sitting. Naturally, they were all white. Mm. And he said they asked him what happened to certain materials. And he said, instead of saying, I don't know, I don't even know what you're talking about, he said, let me go and get them for you, because he knew that his life was in jeopardy. He said, let me go and get them. He said he took off and he ran out of the back door. He didn't go near home. He went the opposite way, and he went to a church member's house, told them what had happened, and he better get out of there. What they wanted to do, they wanted to take his pension and divide it amongst themselves. We were told that by a white gentleman that worked there years later.
Wow.
He took the Greyhound bus and he left Birmingham, and he left us for 3 months. So the lady called and asked my mother if she would bring him a suitcase to the bus terminal. Well, they didn't have all these tracking methods like they do now. So my mother took it, she went down the railroad track, got the bus, and went to Woodlawn and gave him the suitcase. He went to Cleveland, Ohio, and he got a job there, and he worked for 3 months. That night he left, about 11 o'clock, there was a very definite knock on our front door. I went to the door with my mother, and there were 3 white men there. They looked to me, being a little child and in short, they looked like they were 10 feet tall, and they looked like they all weighed 300 and 400 pounds. And they said, where's James? And my mother said, I don't know. And they said, open the door. And my mother had to open the door, and I was right behind her. I was just shaking like a leaf on a tree. They took flashlights and went through our house. They looked under beds. They looked in closets. They looked everywhere. We even had a basement. They went out in the back, they looked down, and they flashed the lights all around in the basement. By this time, he was on his way to Cleveland. They said, if he comes in, tell him to get in touch with the job. Well, that never happened. So I grew up in an environment where we were always looking and watching, and my parents were always teaching us how to act. When you go downtown, act like this. When you go downtown, do this. And it was constant. It was constant. Although we lived through it and we made well of it, we made well of that. It was always watching. And my dad would get us up some nights and pray, come on, let's go, because such and such a thing has happened. And it was always being under scrutiny, on the bus, watching, and it was always yes ma'am and no ma'am.
Were you in a constant state of anxiety? Would you say anxiety, or was that just the way it was? Because if you said something like that to young people in today's time, I think that they would say, oh man, I just felt anxious all the time.
Well, we didn't. We felt very at peace because we lived in a black community, black stores, black cleaners, everything, black churches, and it was a very warm and ingratiating environment that we grew up in. Angela Davis lived on the hill from me. Angela Davis, she was a neighbor.
Wait, just stop for a second. Your father worked with Colin Powell's father.
Yes.
And Angela Davis was a neighbor.
That's right.
Okay,
and Mason Davis, who went on to be a lawyer. It wasn't anything. Our school was a progressive school, because when I came to teach here, I couldn't wait until the meeting was over because I wanted to go and see the science lab, the shoe repair shop, the fine arts, the music department. We had all of that.
Right.
But we had it in our neighborhood because black principals developed that type of environment for us. So when I came here, and I was at Carver Primary in Orgale Gardens. I didn't see this. I was disappointed because I figured if we had that music department and band in Alabama, we would have it. It would be outstanding here.
Wow.
But let me tell you what happened to my father.
Yeah, I was going to go back to
that. I should have known you weren't going to miss a lick. They never came around. He never received his pension. Never. And by the grace of God, we were blessed to survive and make it. He came back home in 3 months. He sat on the front porch in the evening when he was finished working. They never came back. They never came back. And as a child, I would kind of watch, at night, because I lived on Jefferson Highway, 1039 3rd Street North, Birmingham, Alabama, and the Jefferson Highway. So the buses and all that, it was a main thoroughfare. They passed. I was always intimidated by cars slowing up, and it was a bit, just an innate thing, because he was very calm. He said, they just wanted my pension. But he would have lost his life.
Right.
So we lived through that.
Yeah.
My mother was a homemaker, and she knew we had a garden, but we lived directly in the city. We lived around Poole's Funeral Home director was our neighbor. A.G. Gaston was our neighbor.
Really?
A.G. Gaston, yes. It was a big, beautiful, and we lived across the street from, it was just all type of people that made history around us. My first really hurtful experience with, I'd say, with being black was growing up there because I was dark-skinned. I had to make my personality. I had to make my way because the lighter children were really treated wonderful.
So colorism was a real thing?
Yes, it was real. It was right in the black community.
Right.
And in kindergarten, we were graduating, and I was going to be a pole dancer. Just the three of us.
Now, wait a minute, hold a second now. You say pole dancer.
Yes. We were dancing around the maypole.
The maypole.
Yeah, that's
we gotta,
yeah, I had to straighten that out.
We got to clarify that one.
That left your audience with something.
What kind of pole dancer? Okay, all right, I got you.
So I was so happy because I was going to be wearing a little tutu, and all we had to do was dance around, the three of us. 3 days before, Bessie Harris had the leading part of introducing the children and introducing the graduating class and welcoming the parent to the program. And we were at Presbyterian Church, and she never knew her speech. And the teacher would always say, Bessie Harris had pretty long brown hair, and Mason Davis had pretty curly hair, and Barbara Dixon. Well, they were the three stars. I was just dancing, but I was so happy. Don't you know that Friday before our graduation program, she said, Jean, who came to pick me up from kindergarten, tell your mother to teach Ruth this speech. She'll say it Monday at graduation. I didn't, but when I went to school Monday, and Bessie Harris, I knew it. I knew the speech. I can say it to youth today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and children too. We're quite sure all of you played the game of pretense. Maybe you're pretending being far, far away, piloting an airplane or driving a car, or in the land of make-believe where all your sweet dreams come true. Soon you will see a little boy. That was Mason Davis. Why, he believed that all of his dreams will come true. So won't you come with me to the land of make-believe, the land of let's pretend, where the lights grow dim, the music's heard, the curtains rise, and the play began. I had to learn that in 2 days, and I learned it. But I never would have gotten the part if Bessie Harris had learned it. That's right, because she put all of what she called the pretty little children up there. And I thought about that later in years. Why didn't she give that to me in the beginning? So I grew up all kinds of things always happening because of the color of my skin in the black community.
Yeah. What was it like being? Give me did you experience like the Jim Crow segregation and what was it like? You said you weren't within your community. Yes,
as long as you stayed
within
in
your
the community.
Once you left the confines of your community,
what
was that like?
You were watching, and you were careful. I had to go and take music from a noted pianist, Mrs. Chambliss, and I had to go up on the hill, and I had to pass the white homes, and I walked. I would run, and I would hurry through the neighborhood because I didn't want anybody to say anything to me. And it was always that way. You were always watching. Once you left your neighborhood, or if they came through your neighborhood, everybody was looking, but we wouldn't bother them. But if we went through their neighborhood and they wanted to throw bricks at you or do something, and I was always running when I went to take music.
So the anxiety wasn't at home. It was once you left the boundaries.
That's right.
That's where a lot of the anxiety came.
Where the anxiety. Even at school, you were comfortable because it was all black teachers, all black children. But once you left that environment, you put your P's and Q's on, and we always knew how to act nice downtown and not keep up noise and not, if somebody said something to you, yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
So one of the things that I often, by the way, let me stop here. I want to put something in perspective for those who are listening. When you're talking about these things, You said you went to kindergarten in 1940.
Yes, I was in the graduate.
So that means that you were born about 1935.
That's right.
Right?
That's
and
correct.
So if my math is mathing, that puts you at about 90 years old.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're right. You're a good man.
So I wanted because I think that the listeners, the viewer is going to look at you, they're not going to say you 90. But I think it's really important to know that's why I say it's living history. This isn't just a story. You're not repeating something because you did your doctoral thesis on this. This is just your life. This is real living history that cannot be erased or minimized or set aside. Exactly. And so that was one of the reasons I just really want to talk with you, because I can sit here and when you say these names of Angela Davis, you say A.G. Gaston. I remember his house was, if I'm not sure, his house was bombed in 1963 in Birmingham, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And I look at that, and there are these names in history that this was not made up. This was real life. Real. So a lot of times when I'm talking to young people and we'll watch a video series like Eyes on the Prize, and we look at civil rights things, and there'll be this indignation. It's like, man, if I was there during that time, shoot, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have taken that. I would have. What would you say to those young people if they would say that to you about their experience, if they lived during that time, how they might respond? What would you say to them?
If they had lived during my time, they would have done the same thing that I did. Watch, keep an eye out, know when to go left, know when to go right. You would have done the same identical thing, being polite, mannerable, and if you didn't want to get into trouble, then don't create any trouble. Don't kick up any dust.
Yeah.
Go do what you're expected to do, and always be careful and thoughtful, and watch your P's and Q's.
It's interesting when you say don't create any trouble. Sometimes it wasn't that you were creating trouble.
Exactly.
It was just that trouble was going to find you.
It was going to find you.
So it wasn't always, if you do the right thing, you won't have an issue.
That's
Sometimes you can do all of the right things. In that time, you could do all of the right things, and it's still, there still was going to be problems, because that was just a completely different time.
Completely different times. Living in Montgomery, that was an experience that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world, although it was blood-curdling. It was, you were always watching, but we had fun, we enjoyed ourselves, but we knew how to govern ourselves.
Yeah.
And that was during the time of the Montgomery boycott, when Mrs. Parks said she would not get up out of her seat.
Now, let me stop there for a second. I want to talk about the Montgomery bus boycott.
Okay.
But you told me you had a conversation with her during that time.
Yes.
And she said she didn't say something.
Absolutely.
Tell me what you tell me. Tell me what you told me she didn't say.
Mrs. Parks was a guest at our church in Chicago.
Okay.
And at the time, I was a greeter. And I was sent to the office, my pastor, Addie and Claude Wyatt of Vernon Park Church of God on Stony Island. And I was the greeter in the office that Sunday evening. That's when we had church on Sunday. Don't do that anymore.
Right.
But Mrs. Park was the invited guest. And I went in the office to see if she would need water, to greet her and to make her comfortable. And when I walked in, I was just overwhelmed. Beautiful. Not only beautiful, but just relaxed and at ease and so inviting. Her lifestyle was in, she just invited you into her heart. And I told her, I presented myself and I introduced myself, and I told her I would be at her beck and call, whatever she needed. And we talked and talked, and just before she was called to the podium, I said, Mrs. Parks, I was so afraid the day you said, I'm not getting out of my seat, I'm too tired. I said, I didn't think I would ever see you again, because things like that happen. You get put in jail, you gone.
Right.
And she said to me, she said, I didn't say that. And I almost jumped. You did.
Yeah.
She said, I did not say those words. She said, I felt that evening just like I did any other evening coming from work. She said, I was a tailor, a seamstress. She said, and I sat down all day, so I wasn't especially tired. She said, I just wasn't going to get up out of my seat for a white man. And I said, really, Miss Parks, you didn't say that? She said, no, it made the media's lie easier for them to tell. I said, really?
Yeah.
She said, yes. She said, because if they said it like that, then I would look like a little finicky, like, oh, I just don't want to get up. She said that was never true.
Wow.
She said, no, she did not say that.
Living history.
That's right.
Living
She
history.
said it to me.
Directly to you.
To me.
Yeah.
And I was just absolutely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I said, well, why did you say it? What did you say? She said, I didn't say. I just wasn't going to get up out of my seat for a white man, and that was it.
Yeah.
She said, so they took me to jail. And I thanked her graciously for being a humanitarian, a person that had given so much. And I said, do you feel that you have received back what you've given out? She said, oh, it constantly comes.
Yeah.
It's constant, it's moving.
Yeah.
So that was, I will never forget.
That's a great experience,
Yes,
great story.
yes.
So you lived in Montgomery during the Montgomery bus boycott.
From the day that Rosa Parks said no until it was over, it started in 55 and it was over in 56.
Yeah, it was a little bit over a year.
Just a little bit over.
a year.
It was from December to December.
Yeah.
And the dates were kind of like the 5th and the 20th.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Started on the 5th of 55 and it was over on the 20th of 56.
So
And-
what was that like? How did people get around if they didn't have
that
events?
was a very that was a nerve-wracking experience because every time you went out, you were watching, and people got around through drivers. Black men would pick you up. I don't care where you were walking, they would pick you up and take you. Miss, you want to ride? No one was ever raped. No one was ever hurt or put in danger in any way. They picked you up, they took you to your destination, and they would not take a penny from you. You would try to give them the dime,
Yeah.
because that's what the bus fare was, 10 cents. They wouldn't take it. And it went on. I don't care where you would go, they would pick you up and take you. We were sitting on the campus one evening, and this lady came to pass, and she stopped. She said, oh, I'm gonna stop and sit here for a while. And we were sitting there on the steps. And she said, this Boy Scout, she didn't even know the bus boycott. She said, this Boy Scout is just whipping me.
This Boy Scout.
This Boy Scout is whipping me. She said, I walk 5 miles to work and 5 miles home if I don't get a ride.
Yeah.
And sometimes, most times you got a ride. Sometimes you just didn't. There was nobody to pick you up.
Right.
And so one lady decided she would ride the bus. And the boys from the campus did not hurt her. They did not do anything that was during that time. Our mayor was at Alabama State.
Okay.
And you had people like Jesse White.
Jesse White, okay.
Jesse White.
Yeah.
He was a student there. They would look out, and those boys were together. It was a beautiful thing being in a college town, and Dr. King was right down the street, because the night his house was bombed, the boys from the campus went down, but they wouldn't let the girls go. I didn't want to go anyway, because it was always so, it was just a nerve-wracking experience.
Yeah.
And you would get around, people would pick you up, take you where you had to go. Sometimes it would be 10 of us in a car.
Hey, if you are watching this video, there's a good possibility that you are a pastor who's sad, who's tired, and who's angry, and is struggling not to get frustrated with the people in your congregation or the people in your organization. I know that because I have been in that place. I'm in my 44th year of ministry, and there have been so many different times when I was ready to strike the rock and get myself in trouble. Didn't want to, but I was right there at that position. And because I understand that and have experienced that over the last 18 years, yes, I say it that right, 18 years I've been working on this book. Didn't start off as a book, started off as a Bible study, but it eventually turned into this book that I just completed. It is a study of Numbers 20, where Moses struck the rock. And I've been fascinated with the question, why was God so harsh with him in his response to Moses' disobedience? When I came to understand why God responded the way he did, I knew that I needed to share what I learned with other leaders who are in the same position as Moses. That's what this book is about. Before you strike that rock, managing the frustrations that can derail your life and ministry looks at what are the factors in our hearts, in our lives, in our minds, in our experiences that can cause us to make some significant mistakes in our life that can derail our life and ministry. All you need to do to get this book is free of charge. God has told me, don't sell the book, give it away. So all you need to do, give me your name and your email address, click download, and you will immediately get access to this free PDF download of Before You Strike the Rock. Please read it, share this same link with someone else, pay it forward by blessing them. Thank you so much.
And it was total participation on everybody's part.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing that Dr. King left for us. If you have a crisis, and this is what Mrs. Parks says she hoped is never lost. She hoped that black folks always remember the Montgomery boycott and how the residents, how they participated and stuck together.
Yeah.
And that cohesive environment made for the beauty of the whole boycott.
Yeah.
Because they didn't mind, say, inconveniencing themselves, having what you need at your fingertips. It's very disturbing to some people.
Yeah.
They don't want to intervene. But if you just put a little pressure on society and everybody cooperate, you don't have to fight for it.
Yeah.
You don't have to give up nothing. Just hang in there for a while, and the boycott is completely.
Yeah.
Now, they will tell you that the buses in Montgomery are running like they always have. No, they're not. It has never been like that.
Yeah.
I don't care what they put in a book. If you go there, you will see for yourself. They have little white buses that they send around and pick people up. But there's not, they say, oh, they are back in service, and it's not like that.
You're talking about at that time?
I'm talking about now.
Oh, now? Oh,
right
really?
now.
Really?
That's right. It's nothing like they put in a book or a magazine. It's
It had a lasting impact.
That's right, and it's still.
Wow.
It's almost like a curse was put on them.
Wow.
But they don't admit it.
Yeah.
They don't admit it.
Yeah.
They will tell you in a minute the buses are up and running like they always ran before, but it's not. It's not.
All right, I'm gonna veer off into something. I hadn't really thought about this to just when you were just talking. I know you were a teacher. You went to Alabama.
It was Alabama State Teachers College.
It's Alabama State Teachers
But
College.
now it's Alabama State University.
Okay, so right. And so you became a teacher, and you talked about your school and the school system there, and within that contained community in segregation. The schools had everything you could imagine because you had all of the professionals right there in the community.
Right there in
you
the
were
community.
living next door to professionals, the doctors
Exactly.
and the lawyers and everything else. And in the
That's
schools,
right.
the teachers had this vested interest in
Exactly.
seeing students succeed. You came here to Chicago and you saw something very different.
Very different.
So I'm going to see if I can say this succinctly. I saw a podcast, Malcolm Gladwell, I think it was. It's called Revisionist History. And he did this podcast on the Brown versus Board of Education, the civil rights case, the Supreme Court case. And he talked about something that blew my mind. It was amazing to think about this. He said that even though they went to the Supreme Court and they won, it did not have the desired effect. Matter of fact, the ruling wasn't what the NAACP wanted. The ruling, according to the court, was students, we had separate but equal. Brown versus Board of Education overturned that. And the ruling was if black students are with white students, they would do better. That was what the ruling was. And so therefore you did the busing. And they said that is not what we were arguing for. We were arguing not that us being in the presence of white students would make our students better. It was we want the same resources they have. Well, that ruling reshaped the education system, because by doing that, by saying we need to put the kids together, when those kids were bused, I think they said something like nationwide, a third of black teachers across the country lost their jobs.
Lost their jobs.
Because now those schools, those black student teachers were not allowed in the white schools. And the students, the black students who went to those segregated schools or desegregated schools were not treated equally and did not have people that loved them and cared for them the same way that they were in the segregated schools.
Exactly.
And so I think about, this is not Alabama, but I think about Ruby Bridges. And with the Ruby Bridges story, and with her, how, yes, she integrated the school, but they put her in a closet in the room. Then they put her in a room by herself. And so she didn't have these people around her who loved her and cared for her. So this is the controversial statement that I make sometimes that I think people get thrown by this, that to a certain degree, segregation helped us, but desegregation hurt us from this standpoint, that instead of having all of these professionals together, that you saw the professionals every day, and you had these people who were absolutely committed to your well-being. Now, when we did the George Jefferson and we moved on up to the east side, now you no longer saw those same professionals every day, and some of those resources that would solve problems within the community. Now they were living better, but they left, the problem solvers left the community. And they left the community with problems to be solved. Does that make sense?
You couldn't put it in a better explanation of it. You couldn't. Because once we were bust in, bust out, you lost all of that cohesiveness for greatness. I mean, to strive for greatness. They put it in us. They made us feel that it was something that we had to do, and that was excel. But once it was taken away from us, you brought in teachers that just didn't have that type of tenacity.
Right.
They didn't.
Right.
And you had people, it destroyed a whole process of developmental learning.
Yeah.
It just destroyed it.
Yeah.
It destroyed it. Because coming from Parker High School in Birmingham, Alabama, you had a superior feeling like, I'm from Parker High School. I mean, it's the greatest place in the world.
Yeah.
You had everybody anybody that came to Birmingham came to Parker, and they would call an auditorium assembly on the spot because you had dignitaries coming in. You had people of outstanding movie stars and ministers and doctors and lawyers. It was just a parade of making you feel great.
Right.
It was, but once that was taken away, the school lost its bigness. It just lost everything. They even made the school smaller. And it took up a whole block from 3rd Street to 4th Street. And they had an airplane that a black pilot had flown on the campus. They had it. And all of the things that you could think of that would make for a child feeling good or feeling progressive about themselves happened there. But once that was taken away, it lost.
You know, what's interesting for me, even as we're having this conversation, some people will hear me make that statement I just made, and they would take offense to it.
Please don't.
They would take offense to it because they would think that I'm making a negative statement about white people.
No.
They would think I'm making a negative statement and saying, you know, man, you're promoting segregation. And if you hear that, you're hearing wrong. Because I am not making a negative statement about white people. I'm making a positive. I'm saying that the idea that I can only be better if I'm in your presence, that is the falsity.
That is the down.
That is the downfall.
Yes.
The reality was that we were okay, and I'm not saying being separate. I'm not talking about separatists. I'm talking about understanding the value that you have within yourself.
Exactly.
And that my value, there is greatness in me, just give me the opportunity. And when you give me the opportunity and the equal resources, I will achieve just like anybody else does. But my identity is not, or my value and my power and the greatness that I have in me is not tied to being with a certain person.
Absolutely.
I have it within me. It just gives me the opportunity. I grew up in a poor community with a median income of $9,000 and 17 miles from a grocery store. I tell this story often. I was 7 before we had indoor running water, indoor toilet, indoor heating within our house. But I look at that and I look at the greatness that came from that poor community. I saw an actor on TV the other day that grew up down the street from me, out of this community. The first black appellate court judge in the female black appellate court judge in the state of Florida came from that community. Another professor at Harvard came from that community. President of the American Bar Association today came from that community. And how do you my brother was the executive for 3 airlines, came from that community. You know, my sister who headed the department at the University of Louisville came from that community. And so it was not, so when by me saying that the segregation, the desegregation hurt us, it is not a negative statement about non-white people. It is a statement to say we have capacity and we can achieve and we can do, just don't hold me back artificially.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I think that is the important message.
Thing.
I don't think our communities have ever completely recovered from that.
And they are constantly falling off the cliff.
Yeah.
Constantly. Because they put into us, these were people that had the same background that we had. So they were constantly putting into us that you can be this and you can do this. I went to a dinner one night, and we started talking about literature, and I really love literature. He started saying A Psalm of Life, and I took it up. Then he started Thanatopsis, The Tomb of Napoleon, I Too Sing America, Life of Me, Ain't No Crystal there. And we were just going at it. He said, aren't you from Alabama? And I said, yes. He said, I know. He said, no other state taught literature like Alabama. And it was the black teachers that it made it a point to put it in the curriculum for us. I've worked in some beautiful schools here in Chicago, and the teachers were dynamic. But I'm talking about being in Alabama, a deprived state for black people. Being there and having to live there, we were taught a sense of value. Not only from the school, but it started at home.
At home, right.
I really didn't know I was short until I came until I came up here, because my dad had put it in me. He said, baby, you're measured, a man is measured from his neck up. So you don't.
Hold on. I got. You just dropped something. A man is measured from his neck up.
He said, so you don't worry about what's not there. How tall. He said, remember, it's from here up. It's what's up here. And I felt good about myself. I didn't know. I came here talking about shortness and that. It was a beautiful experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Even the hardships, even the fear, all of that, I wouldn't change it for anything.
If you were in Montgomery during that time in 55, well, you said by 63 you were not in Birmingham anymore.
I had
by
graduated
you were
in
in
58,
Chicago.
and I was in Chicago teaching at Orgill Garden. Maybe Francis Willard, Wacker Primary, somewhere in there. I was in all these schools.
My mother was a nurse, and the doctor that she was his nurse for many years, I'm almost positive he grew up in Orgill Gardens. He's about my age, so I'd be curious to find out. I'm gonna ask him if he's heard of you. Living in that season, in that time of life, was a heady time. I don't know if people at the time understood. They could not know the historical significance of that time. But did you ever have an opportunity to meet? Like, I think of two people that were in Montgomery in Alabama, Birmingham at that time, of Dr. King and Reverend Shuttlesworth. Did you ever have opportunity to have any interaction with them at all?
No. The young lady that lived next door to them, she told me so much about Dr. King. She was their babysitter. And
she was Dr. King's
babysitter. And I would go to see Gloria. And she said, you know, Dr. King lived right next door. And last night I babysat for him and Mrs. King. And guess what? He came in the living room and he had on a beautiful pajama set, but he played the piano for us. And I said, well, what did he play? She said, chopsticks with one finger.
Okay. I was going to say, I didn't know he played the piano.
And she said they were just wonderful, regular people. And she was called over. I think I brought a picture of Gloria with me. Just a wonderful group, a family-orientated home life. She said nothing outstanding. Mrs. King was just a regular housewife, and Dr. King was like a husband at home, children. He held the babies, and he gave them their bottles, and he changed them. She said it was a very warm and normal life for them. And she said sometimes she was called up, Gloria, she said, well, I have to go to school and I have to do this. She said, but whenever she was available and they needed her, she was right there. And sometimes it would get so hot in Montgomery on Dr. King, or Mrs. King would come over to the university or over to the college and stay at the dormitory because we had teachers who were living on the first floor. And she would, that would be her Hernando's hideaway. She would come there. She would come to the school and stay there. It was a wonderful, enriching experience.
What are some of the takeaways you have as you think about that experience of living in the South, migrating, if I can call that migrating, to the North? What would you say are some key life lessons that you have learned? Did you learn growing up there? The process of living during that time, moving up. What are some key life lessons for you?
Key life lesson is charity, love, everything, teaching, training, first began at home.
Okay.
That is the most important area. And for parents to really take the time to love their children and to show them that they care, even if they're divorced. You have a certain degree of nurturing that you should always expose your children to. Watch them. Remember to congratulate them for the little things that they do as well as the big things. Work in the community when you can. Do as much community work that you can. You are a wonderful minister. And I'm not saying this in front of your face. I'm just to be saying it. This is why I chose it, was because of you and your wife. You all exemplified a charisma and a kindness and a depth in Christianity, more so than just preaching. You all had a certain style of honesty that you didn't talk about. It's just there. And you back up everything with scripture.
Yeah.
You do it in a very pleasant way. You don't ground it, and it just comes natural. And you check your mind and your spirit and your soul. And it's there.
Yeah.
So I enjoy the peace that you bring to the church.
Well, thank you.
Your peace.
Thank you.
And I never thought about this is going to be history making. I never thought about the Montgomery or I never thought about that. Think about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Think about tomorrow and do your best today. And my life, I try to live today a little better than yesterday and more truthful.
Yeah.
And with more honesty. And I fall off the wagon, but I get right back up and start again. And being there for family, being there for neighbors, and using what you've got.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you got something, whatever that something is that's good and worthwhile, use it.
This year, my focus has been on manhood, marriage, masculinity. I've been focusing upon helping men learn how to heal from their broken past so they can live powerfully in the present and with purpose in the future. Those are the things I've been focusing on. So a lot of my topics, most of my topics this year have been around that theme.
Excellent.
Even this morning, the morning of this taping, I sat down with a group of men for about 3 hours. We probably sat there for about 3 hours talking about we're born to lead, but now we need to learn how to do that, okay? And so one of the things that hit me, so that for what you said, you talked about your father. And you gave a very important lesson that your father gave you. I think he taught you something about integrity, taught you something about being committed to his family. But I love that lesson that he gave you of man is measured from the head up. What are some other important lessons? Are there any other important lessons that your father told you?
Yes. He was always, but he did it in a modest way. We didn't sometimes even know he was teaching or training us. And he would say things like, Ruth, you're beautiful. And, I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't think that what I looked like, but it made me feel good. Parents uplift their children, and they used the minimum to make the best. They were not rich, but they had 3 of us in college at almost one time. I was at Alabama State. My brother was at Tennessee State, and my sister Irene wanted to be a secretary. She was at Cortez Peters, and she stayed with another sister and her husband. You just have to be alert, mindful, watching as well as you pray, and being thoughtful and considerate.
Great lessons from Dad. Great lessons from Daddy.
He taught us to be watchful and to be calm. Take your time, think it over with, and he was always there for us. I don't care what we needed. He would say, sometimes he didn't have it. He said, "Don't worry, I'll get it. I'll get it." And one day, I said, "Mama," I said, "Daddy told me to come and ask you to get the money out of the money bag and give it to me." She said, "What money bag?" What money bag? But he was always thoughtful and considerate of us. My mother passed away at 107, and she was a very elegant woman. She never walked on a walker.
Wow.
She never had a cane. And until the day she left here, she was her mind, her mentality. 107. My father was 86, and I do believe it's because he worked so hard.
Yeah.
He worked so that same job that ran him out of town. He went back and got a job at J.H. Bender.
So it sounds like one of the things that he also valued was just hard work.
Hard work.
And
hard
just
work.
taking care of
dedication.
His family.
And my father was a minister.
Okay.
He was a minister. He helped build the church. And I remember he went under one night and had to almost lift the floor of it on with his shoulders. But he was dedicated.
Last thing I want you to just ask, is there some advice, some words of wisdom you would offer to this generation of young people? What words of advice might you offer?
Look in on your history and try to get the truth of it and follow the lead of those generations that have really given. The Montgomery bus boycott that I went through led us to live in the suburbs. We wouldn't have been out here if it hadn't been for civil rights. It opened the door for us to get jobs and equality like the whites.
Yeah.
It did that.
Thank you, Miss Ruth.
You are more than welcome.
This has just been delightful.
Thank
you so much.
I felt like I was sitting in my living room.
Well, you are. You sit in your living room. So as I close out this episode of Real Life Matters, this is the thought that comes to me. If you stand tall, it's because you stand on the shoulders of those that have come before you.
Exactly.
You know, I think it's so easy. I wrote something recently. I don't know if I can remember how I said it. But in your effort to find something new, to create something new, you don't have to dismiss, denigrate, or demolish that which is old. Because there really is nothing new. Everything is just evolving from something that has come before you. If you have your smartphone, it's because somebody else had a dumb phone. If you have a computer, it's because somebody else had an abacus. If you have a nice electric car, it's because somebody else had a bicycle and a car with a crank. And so there is nothing new. Only thing that we have are those things that have come before us that we are improving on. So you need to respect. Respect history. Know your history. One of the things that I think we're in danger in our country right now is that we are trying to rewrite history and move parts of history out and say that didn't happen. Well, if it didn't happen, then we don't exist. Absolutely. And so I just really want to encourage you. I don't care where you are. Learn to respect history. Learn to respect the history makers. and recognize and give honor to those whom honor is due. Recognize that if you are standing tall, is because you stand on the shoulders of those that have come before you, and then recognize as well, because of that, you have a responsibility to build a platform for somebody else to stand on. Thank you for joining me again for this episode of Real Life Matters, where we talk to real life people dealing with real life issues with real life solutions. Hope to see you again. Thank you so much.
You.